Hello everyone, here's the most overpowered new Harlowe build in Borderlands 4. This is actually crazy because we're going to get an infinite amount of critical hits off with this. With this new weapon, these critical hits are going to chain to multiple enemies, and we can spread our Neutron capture damage to 4 enemies at a time. This is absolutely absurd how much damage we can output with this, and it's a ton of fun too, seeing critical hit bounce across the screen like that. I've been playing around with the Rowdy Rider, which is new in the DLC, which does come with a negative, but a positive critical hit damage is going to be crazy because there was a recent change to how damage is working in this game. But the crazy synergy here is we take the Neutron capture 4% of our action skill damage dealt, and we're going to be spreading around to multiple enemies, and we're going to turn every single critical hit into a shot because that puts our action skill damage on our gun, and then every single attack after we do damage with our action skill is going to be an automatic critical hit with just 1 point of excited state. I wish I had more points. She's going to scale really good with the level cap increase, and then we can also replenish our ammunition with the critical funding. And even without that, we're going to have an increased critical hit chance here and bonus damage to all entangled enemies. And there's a lot of great class mods we can use with this. The green and the red skill tree really synergize well together, but to start off from level 1, this actually comes online pretty quick because Neutron Capture is just so powerful. We're going to take Field Ready Prototype, increasing our action skill damage, so Neutron Capture will then add more damage back onto our gun from our Chroma Accelerator. It's good to take the increased elemental damage here, but increased fire rate is also quite nice because the increased fire rate can actually help out with the amount of damage we can output with Neutron Capture pretty quickly. But you can also just take 1 point there and then go with the Enrich for 3 points there, getting us increased radiation damage. And we typically in the early game want to focus on radiation damage if we can. It's great for mobbing, but just the bonuses are nice. Then to finish off, we'll put 1 more point into the increased fire rate and another point into elementary. Once we get down here at level 15, we're going to go with the glow up, getting an increased critical hit chance with guns against irradiated enemies. Just great for mobbing, especially when you're just wanting extra critical hit damage. We also then will take chain reactor, getting bonus radiation damage to entangled enemies. And we'll also go back here and take a couple stacks of the poison sun for more radiation damage. It's nice. It all stacks together very well. We're going to take the demon core. This is just a really big boost to our damage because it's going to shoot off darts that'll deal additional damage. And those will all give us more damage for Neutron Capture to our gun. This also just recently changed to convert all damage into radiation damage. So the Neutron Capture is by far the best augment that we can put on this build. If we're using the green skill tree, I do have a separate build for that using this weapon. It also is very powerful. Harlow's got she utilizes this weapon really well, but using Neutron Capture gives us a big boost to our gun damage, and then Neutron Capture is going to boost our overall action skill damage, which is then applied to our gun. What's funny is before this game released, this was actually supposed to be 10%. Another nice benefit is this will automatically irradiate enemies, and we're going to want to take the green skill tree here. You can take Dirty Bomb early on. Now, I'm just going to leave it blank for the current moment because there is decisions we've got to make once we get a little bit further, depending on your playstyle and how do you prefer. But once we get here, we're at around level 26. We're going to take Momentum. So whenever Harlowe entangles an enemy, she and her allies deal increased critical hit damage. So we're dealing critical hits often. We're entangling enemies often. So this is just a no-brainer to take. We can come over here because, as mentioned, we're going to irradiate the enemies often. This is going to give us 10% gun damage per stack. We can get 5 stacks for 50% increased gun damage. This is really nice. Neutron Decay just gives us a further boost to our gun damage. And what's better than that? Action skill damage, which we can then get with Resonate Cascade. So whenever Harlowe deals radiation damage, she gets increased action skill damage, and this can stack. So we can get 9% per stack, 5 stacks for 45% there. It's pretty good. It lasts for 8 seconds, so you're going to want to watch this in the bottom left-hand side. It's a little like explosion with the radiation symbol. Whenever you see that stacked up to 5, this is a good time to launch your action skill for that extra damage. And then once we come over here, I like to take 2 stacks of Confirmative Reality. Some people say you should only take 1 and then put 1 point into here for extra gun damage. I was told that in a few different comments in my videos. I like the 2 points, on all honesty. It's just going to allow you to get your action skill damage back a lot quicker. If you prefer 1 point and taking another elsewhere, you can go with that as well. Now, once we get down here, we do want to take at least 1 point of excited state. This is really crazy. And again, I wish I could take more points into this because this gives us even further critical hit damage. And since she's now doing critical hits that are dealing the extra amount of damage they should be doing, this is going to be really powerful. But I think it's best to actually come down and take this here. This will give us ammunition back whenever we get critical hits. This can be really good because this lets you fire pretty much infinitely, and you can use heavy ordnances at this point to get extra damage off. Decoherence is really good too, though. This will give us bonus damage, which we really want because that's just a further increase the overall damage output that we have. But this does require us to put points there. There is a class mod that can give us that, so that is another option. But there's a lot of really good class mods. We'll get to that point. There's also refraction, which lets us entangle and critical or do more ricochets, but we already got a really good ricochet chance. So my personal preference is taking critical funding, but decoherence is also equally good. This gives us bonus damage. It's a tough choice because this will open up the more weapon options. This will just do a ton of extra damage. And it's actually best to probably put all your points into decoherence and then also take the class mod with decoherence, but I'm actually going to show you 2 different ways to do this. Harlow's Certainty Principle just gives us more gun handling, so we're way more accurate. It's fine, it's just nice to have, but we want to get down to take 2 points here. A third is nice, but you got a choice to make because whenever we irradiate an enemy, we do a radiation explosion, doing 40% of the total of radiated damage. That's really good. I think it's worth taking, but if you didn't want it, you can then put the points into critical funding. This will open up our heavy ordinances to work a little bit more freely, but again, your personal preference at this point, because either way, it's going to be strong. Now, I really like the driver class mod because you get lifesteal on this, and whenever we fire a chrome accelerator, we drain all but 1 of our health and amp the chrome accelerator, so it's going to do more damage. And then chrome accelerator gains 20% lifesteal, so we get our life back because we have 1 health point. However, if we have a shield, we're fine. This is something you wouldn't want to pop right as soon as your shield breaks and then your health bar is depleted, because yeah, once you use this, you're almost dead, unless you can like get to a cover and then pop this. But sometimes you get the second wind off with this too, so it's something to keep in mind. I also got a roll for plus 25% elemental damage, kind of nice, and the get out of jail free card roll, which is nice on this build. Action skill damage increased 15%. It's really nice because again, that gets added to our gun damage as well. The skill rolls in this are really nice too, giving us a bit of extra shield and overshield capacity, which we're going to want because we can now get lifesteal with cryo damage. With the Rowdy Rider deals cryo damage, so if our health is full, we gain overshield instead. The nice thing about this is, yeah, we can use this for sustain when we're not using our action skill, and then we also then have the highly efficient, which will give us shield capacity restored. So we get lots of sustain from this, as oddly as it seems, because it's draining everything whenever you use your action skill, but we stay alive. There's also the reactor, and this one came with 4 points of the decoherence. They're giving a big boost to the damage. Got terrible rolls on this though, and I don't have the +5 decoherence, but that would be probably my preference for the best one. I really like just using the driver. Getting the lifesteal off is really fun because this gives her a lot of survivability as well, but you can experiment with both of these. They're both 2 fun play styles. So reactor with a lot of decoherence bonus damage, or the driver there. Watch for Dinner is really fun too if we wanted to swap out and use the Scientist, because whenever we shock an enemy, we'll also entangle and irradiate it, which will give us the extra benefits. The skill rolls on this aren't great, but I got plus 20% damage dealt and splash damage, which can be good, especially if you want to use a heavy ordnance. However, I like to roll with this. The Watch for Dinner is great. You can also use the Timekeeper's New Shield, because this gives us flat out 10% lifesteal. So that's 10% that we're just going to be, every time we deal damage, we're going to be getting lifesteal back. So that can work really good because the Timekeeper's New Shield reduces the damage that we take. And then with Neutron capture damage, it makes our lifesteal absolutely ridiculous. So you can roll with that. For mobbing, Fireworks is really good. You can also roll with this Super Soldier, because this is going to help us give us extra ammunition if we're using certain weapons. So you basically just don't run out of bullets. I really like using this one here. There's a lot of fun different shields you can use. Watch for Dinner or Super Soldier. My 2 favorites. Now, this going with the data list is great because then it enhances the bod. Especially a radioactive bod is really crazy, obviously, against really every boss in the game. This one also came with increased gun damage and shotgun magazine size. However, you can go with the Jacob's License Critical Hit Bounce Pass, which will increase the ricochets by 1. I have a hard time getting a good roll on this one, but yeah, you can get some pretty nice benefits from that. I really just like getting the shotgun magazine size, and then you can use a lot of other shotguns. Assault rifle magazine size would be great because the Rowdy Rider does have a low magazine size, but it's fine. Now, the Hatchling gun is probably the best choice for heavy ordnance because we can get a lot of ammunition shot really quickly, which will then give us a chance to replenish our ammunition from our skill tree, getting critical hits and critical funding. So this is really nice. It just gives us a really good option for damage. You can also use the waterfall. I also like the vivisecting throwing knife for the critical hits because it gives a 30% critical hit chance, and you can throw this and then get that bonus because we already do 25%, so that's a big boost to that. Triple bypass, typically going to be the best though with the amp. You can also get one with lifesteal, especially if you're using the driver. These kind of go all together well. I really like the bonus damage from driver, and then having something with lifesteal on top of it, because you can then go with this. There's also triple bypass with the overshield, so if you need a little extra survivability when using the driver, that could be nice too. But I like a lot of the other roles. Even tank could be good. There's a lot of different triple bypass, but we want this because sometimes you just need to get your action skill back if you're not able to entangle a bunch of enemies quickly, so the triple bypass is good for that. Now for weapons, the Rowdy Rider, as mentioned, is going to be the starter of this. Is great for mobbing, not so great at bossing because its big thing is it ricochets +2 projectiles on critical hits. So obviously really good for that. But the Wombo combo, oddly enough, the rockets will also proc any extra neutron capture damage off on them. So yeah, this ends up being the most powerful, especially if you use a Vladov. If you use a Vladov enhancement with additional projectiles per shot, like this one here, the Hero Bullet is really crazy. Gives us increased magazine size, fire rate as well, which makes the Wombo combo absolutely deadly on this build. And you can use a shock one with a Scientist class mod if you're using that. The Stray is another really good sniper rifle, especially if you can get a cryo one, because this will have Jacob's Lace accessory. And this class mod does have the cryo damage, gives us life steal and overshield. So yeah, this keeps us alive if we just want to not aim and just shoot. And then the bot, as mentioned, with the radiation damage on it, because then we can radiate enemies. And the bot is just the best, and it's going to scale good when Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 drops. And the hardest part about this is we got to watch our shield here, because again, this drains us down to 1 health, but it does a lot of extra damage. And then you can see here that we melt bosses' health bars like ridiculously fast. It's an Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. Yeah, we also can take ourselves out quickly with the wombo combo. And then when we're using the Rowdy Rider here, this is like a boss fight where it's not great because these enemies are going to die really quickly. But for mobbing, yeah, the enemies don't last too long with this. But yeah, you see a really slower time to kill versus using the wombo combo where those rockets will apply the extra damage really quickly. But we get our action skill back super fast, so that's really nice too, because then we can just activate it again and get that bonus splash damage. You see there, the wombo combo is really nice with that. And as mentioned, I also really like the Stray because then it can just auto aim for you and you can shoot really quickly with that. You don't even have to really pay attention because, yeah, you can see there it's doing a lot of damage. Now, you do still want to aim for like headshots and stuff whenever possible because you're not going to have the critical hit extra damage often. But you can see there, we're still doing quite a bit of extra critical hit damage. And then we can just pop this again whenever we want. And then once you activate it, that's when your peak damage comes out because then you get all that damage that was applied. Typically, you're going to do more damage if you can get a ton of enemies looped up inside it. And another thing is it's shooting off darts all the time too. And then once we activate, we can then pull out our heavy ordnance, which is going to take all that extra damage. You can see there, this build is absurd. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next video.